Hey everybody, welcome to today's video on the channel, and in today's video I am going to be talking about Wizard101 and basically be giving a review of the entire game, the good things, the bad things, and the ugly. Now, I do have 7 max characters, as you guys can see on screen right now. So I've played a lot of Wiz, I do PvP on all of them, and I'm actually the only Storm Warlord at max level that managed to get it legit. So better smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. This channel is awesome and you're awesome, so why not? Anyways, back on topic here. I'll be dividing this video into 3 different points. Like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly. There will be timestamps down below in the comments, and if I miss anything in this video, feel free to let me know down there in the comments below. And as always, I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into things right away, starting off with the good. The first thing I have for the good is the story is very captivating. Now, if you guys don't know, there are different arcs, basically, so each arc is like a different story. Some of them are kind of connected, not really, but they tell different stories, and for the most part, the Kingsisle team and the Wizard101 team does a great job with their storytelling. Their writers are extremely talented, and their art team as well just does a fantastic job with things throughout the game. Also, since the game has been around since 2008, I believe, or 2007, I forget which one it came out in, but there is a lot of content to get caught up on. You know, if you're a new player or you haven't played in more than 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff to come back to and a lot of stuff to do, and that's a really good pro. Secondly, school charm. Now, when I say school charm, I'm basically talking about how each school is different, you know, in terms of like the spells and the symbol and like the sound effects, like just all the way down to like the sound effects and the timing. You know, just really nice stuff. You know, the storm symbol has like a really high pitch, and then like the fire symbol has more of like a serious tone, stuff like that. There's just a lot of school charm, and there's a lot of identity in terms of the cards. You know, death is very like edgy. Fire, you have like a freaking dragon. You know, ice, you can literally like freeze people with frostbite. There's a lot of cool stuff like that in terms of the school, and you can really craft out, you know, how you want your character to be, which I think is a great thing and should not be undermined at all in the game right now. There's a lot of community events and interaction from the community managers. You know, we got people like Spark, you know, Kyle, and oh god, what's the other guy's name? Hocules. Oh my god, Hocules is gonna hate me. I forgot his name, but anyways, those 3 people put on a lot of events and are very receptive to community feedback, and I do appreciate them, you know, on the Kingsisle lives and the, you know, KI plays and stuff like that. They're always, you know, fun to be around, and you can always see them in the game from time to time and, you know, just have a good chat with them. There's just a really good community atmosphere here, and this actually ties into my next point I have, is just in general the atmosphere. You know, you might see like a content creator, you might see like a developer or like the community manager when you log on the game, and there's always a lot of players, like, I don't know, like in the commons, in the arena. It's pretty easy to find people and just chill and hang out and have a good time right now in Wiz, and that is something a lot of games don't have, at least nowadays, in my opinion. And I think that should not be something we take for granted here. You can just log on Wiz with a friend, quest, or just chill in the commons and like talk about some crazy stuff or troll some people in the commons and stuff like that. So I think that is a very nice part about the game. This next point might be a little bit controversial, but I have, if you're a perfectionist like myself, you'll be chasing things for a while, even though the grind can be tedious. Now, basically what I'm saying here is, if you're somebody who really likes to get like, you know, that extra best stat for your robe, your hat, your theme, every piece of gear, you're going to be stuck chasing things for quite some time on this game. And I know some people really are into being grindy like that, and some people aren't, but I figured I would put that in this point because I think that is something cool about the game. Is, yeah, you can run basic gear and get through the game in PvP fine. But if you really want to like get down to the details and stuff like that, you can do that in this game, and it does reward you to do that for the most part. So I think that is a great thing in my opinion. Next up, there are a lot of pop culture references. Now, I didn't really notice this one until I started paying attention to the dialogue like later in the game. And like there's like freaking like Batman pretty much referenced in Imperia and stuff like that. Just a little attention to detail like that, which I can really come to appreciate now that I'm a bit older. When I was like a teenager and a kid playing this game, I didn't really think much of it, but now that I'm older, it just kind of is like almost like cute in a way. I appreciate it. And again, that's just hats off to like the writers and stuff like that. They're just very good, and it's got a very charming way on how they do things. Weekly events change, stuff like Spiral Scene, Decathlon, Beast Moon, stuff like that. Every week, this stuff changes, and you can work to, progress your battle pass and stuff like that. And there's always like a new event that there is to do. Obviously Beast Moon and Decathlon are the most popular ones, and a lot of players like that stuff. So, even if there isn't a lot of new stuff, like a new raid or a new world, you can come back, every week and see, oh, Beast Moon's on. I can play Beast Moon this week, or I'll wait till next week and maybe a good event will be out, I think this is kind of how Kingsisle does like their quote-unquote content, at least over Wiz. And personally, I don't mind it. I think it's more for the casual players. As somebody more hardcore, it doesn't really seem like enough to me, in my opinion. But I do think it is cool they at least try and put this in for a form of content. Lastly, for the good, I have lots of ways to customize your character, and there will be more features coming this summer test realm and update, which is pretty cool. There are tons of stitches and gear to get in this game, whether it's extremely hard to get, like raids, or max tiering something from Decathlon, like the gauntlets, or like a robe from Beast Moon, or something from Bazaar, or just killing Smogger and Marlebone for the 700th time. There's a lot of stuff to do and gear to farm for, and you can really carve out your character, which I appreciate. I spend a lot of time farming on different outfits. I'm, just really big into style and stuff like that. So I think that is something that is really cool in the game right now. Be bad. So I'm going to try to not be very negative here. I'm going to do my best, but as always, I do keep it real on the channel here. I don't really sugarcoat things, so we're going to say it how it is. And first thing I have is the lack of endgame content. Now, endgame content is basically after you are done literally everything. So for example, right now, level 160 is the level cap, and you can't quest anymore after that. Basically, not until like a full 11 months has gone by. So endgame content is there to keep you like enticed and interested in the game until that new world or whatever comes out, right? But all there really is those weekly events I talk about, and those get pretty boring after, after a couple of times, at least in my opinion. You have PvP, which I'll be talking about a bit later on, which isn't that great due to accessibility issues and toxicity. Player toxicity as well is a big one in PvP. And there's raids, which are actually, in my opinion, actually pretty good for the game in terms of endgame content, but again, it's not very accessible for probably the majority of players, and a lot of people still do not know what a raid is to this day. So I think Kingsisle could do a better job with their endgame content and make it more clear. Maybe, for example, I think when raids came out, they could have put something on like the launcher screen or something, be like, hey, like, check out this new raid. How do I get into a raid? What is a raid? They could have put that on like the launcher screen to, be like, oh, hey, as I'm loading into the game, what is this? I might want to check that out, I think that'd be a good way to get the players to know more about what's going on with your content. Next up, I have Kingsisle has a bad habit of removing beloved game modes. I'm talking about game modes like PvP tournaments, which I know is a big one for the community. A lot of players want that back, and it is still not back. And Pet Derby, this one is a little bit more of a minority, I would say. I played Pet Derby when I was a kid. It's alright, and I think it will be making a comeback, maybe. It would be cool to see Pet Derby and tournaments come back as, like, one of those weekly rotations. Because, like I said, it's a little bit dry after the first, couple of times you go through the rotations. So I would love to see Pet Derby and tournaments incorporated in with those weekly events. Next up, this one is a big one. Both Pirate 101 and Wizard101 are very slow in terms of updates compared to modern day gaming. Now, modern day gaming, I know, is like kind of like a meme, whether, you're like a Call of Duty player, a single game player, stuff like that. Modern day gaming can mean a lot of things. However, the standard for getting updates out has just really went through the roof ever since COVID came out. At least that I've noticed, and probably a lot of you have as well. So Kingsisle obviously is being compared to other companies with this, right? Other companies get updates out like every week, every 2 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. I'd say every other week, in my opinion, is probably a good rate for updates. But again, at least with how things work at Kingsisle, the developers might get their work done, but it's up to like management to actually schedule like a fix for things. So it's not just like a simple thing of like, oh, they're lazy. The work might be done, but the other people at Kingsisle has to get the update out, and I don't really know whose fault that is, but what we have right now is just not that great, and both Pirate 101 and Wizard101 just don't get as much updates as they should. So I'd really like to see Kingsisle's team grow more on both sides. I would like to see at least bi-weekly updates in terms of things, and I think that would help the game a lot. Monetization can be very overwhelming and pushy, so monetization is kind of slapped all over this game, as it is for, again, modern day gaming. I would say probably for 80% of the game, there is a way to pay to play, or a way to pay to like save time, and I don't mind that, but I hate when they shove it in your face, man. Like, when you get to Firecat Alley or Cyclops Lane, you literally get the membership wall, or the paywall, shoved in your face. Quite literally, guys, okay? And I think that stuff like that is just really bad and unhealthy for the game, in my opinion. And, like, the crown shop always comes up as soon as you log on and stuff like that. And, I think the crown shop could just be, do a whole rework, and I might make another video talking about that on the channel here. But I think the monetization is a little bit pushy, in my opinion. Some things are still pay to win. Not majority of the game, but some things specifically are pay to win right now. Next up, I have PvP has been unbalanced for a long time, and player toxicity is at like an all-time high practically in PvP. Now, PvP has been around for a long time in this game, and as you guys know, I've only been playing for like 3 years, so I haven't been around, for like 10 years, stuff like that. But I have heard that they have been trying to get more updates out within the past probably like 4 to 5 years or so. So at least in my time, in the past 3 years, I have seen Kingsisle do a little bit better in terms of updates on things in terms of PvP, which I can appreciate. But when the community is universally agreeing on something being broken, the two things I'm going to name in this example is going to be stats at max level and the elo system in 5th Age. When the whole community has been complaining about that ever since 5th Age came out, I think at some point you should probably listen to the community and maybe not be so full of yourself. I don't want to be like roasting the devs. A lot of the devs I'm good friends with, okay? And I appreciate them. They've taught me a lot of stuff, even like on a philosophical level. So I do appreciate y'all, but at the same time, like, when things are really bad for a long time, it wouldn't be that bad to just actually listen to the community and see what happens if you listen to them a bit more. And player toxicity is really high in PvP. Now, obviously, in a competitive system, a lot of people might shit talk and stuff like that, but there's a lot of cheating in this game, and especially at the higher ranks. I know a lot of competitive games suffer from this, but Wiz is a little bit more easier to detect people cheating, at least from what I've seen. So I wish there'd be a bit more swift in terms of the toxicity in the arena, but that might just be me. School identity has been damaged. Now, a good example for this is Storm is like a blade removal school at the start of the game, but by the end of the game, you're not a blade removal school. And Storm at the start of the game is the glass cannon school of Wiz, and by the end of the game, you're not the glass cannon school, you know? There are plenty of examples that I can make a whole video about. I think I have actually, talking about school identity, but it's been damaged ever since Rochambeau came out, and that is a whole controversy in of itself, but I think that is something that is very important to bring up in the bad right here. Next up, I have lack of accessibility. Now, when I'm talking about accessibility, I'm talking about, again, players don't know, you know, if a new update like a raid comes out, they don't know, they don't really put it on like the home screen, I don't think, on the launcher when you load in. And you know, the raid system is just not very well accessible, and people will often not want to go to YouTube or Twitch to ask for help. Some people do, a lot of y'all do, and I appreciate you guys, but you know, the average Joe or the average player might just be like, okay, you know, this storm gear with 100 damage at level 160 is fine, right? Little do they know, you can get like 220 and your life would be a lot easier, right? But the game doesn't push the player to like actually try and be like, oh, okay, these stats are good, you know? So I really think Kingsisle could do a better job on that part. Last but not least, I have the ugly. Now, I only have 2 or 3 points here. I'm going to try to keep this very short for the ugly. First, the pet system is abysmal. You can spend $30 to try and make a pet, and that pet still won't be made. You can spend $20, and you still won't even have a base for your pet. I mean, do I need to say any more, guys? I mean, the problem with the pet system is there's no good ways to efficiently farm and get, you know, stuff like P9s, hatching elixirs, energy elixirs, stuff like that. And even if there was a good way to farm them, you would have to get a lot of them like really fast, because pets are just so damn expensive, and there's no like in-game tutorial, like back to the accessibility thing, where it explains to the player, hey, you might want these talents, or like, hey, rare is defy, epic is proof, epic is breaker, stuff like that. You have to literally go to YouTube, and a lot of players just won't do that. And honestly, I might make a guide on that, actually, a pet guide on the channel. Let me know if you guys want to see that or not, but there are things like that, and I think the pet system is due of an overhaul and needs to be a lot more, you know, player friendly, in my opinion. Next up, and the biggest advocator of the year, goes to the Kingsisle devs. Yeah, woo! Kingsisle doesn't have much respect for their players' time. Look at things like Novus farming, Malistaire farming at level 50, Spellements, pay to win, Beast Moon, Decathlon, you know? I'm gonna go into detail on each one of these. Novus farming, you can literally spend months trying to go for something and not get it. Now, this has technically gotten better ever since the launch of Novus, but it never should have been this bad in the first place, you know? What we had before wasn't perfect, but it at least functioned, and we just extremely downgraded with the Novus update in terms of farming and obviously, you know, player time management ratio, whatever, right? Spellements, I honestly don't mind them, but a lot of players have made it clear they do not like Spellements, and it's like a very, I don't know how to say this really. It's, you need Spellements, like the path B Spellements or like a top path Spellement. Like, you need it when you need it. Like, for example, you need bottom path Kraken right now in the PvP meta. If you don't have that, you're screwed. Okay, that's just how it is right now. And the time it takes to get max 2 Spellements is insane. I just made a level 50 wizard, y'all, and I had to farm every day for like hours for 5 days just to get max 2 Spellements on my storm, which is, I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. And then pay to win obviously is at a couple of the lower level leagues, and a couple of things at max level like Kroger Jewel, Brace Defy. And then Beast Moon and Decathlon are just way too little of rewards, you know. I don't get much for beating a level on Decathlon. I don't get much for like winning a wave or the whole game on Beast Moon, or like a battle on Beast Moon. There's just not much rewards there for the amount of time you're putting into those modes. Now this last one, I saved it for the end because, you know, I'll probably get flamed for this, but the devs are extremely stubborn. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I Rapbeard and all them, you know, Artie, we're homies and stuff like that. Like, I love y'all. You're great. Keep up the good work. But y'all are so stubborn. You know, look at Steelward, again, look at stats, look at Elo, look at Ward, look at Pin. These are all things the community has universally agreed that they don't like, and it's still in the game. Right? Players will ask for things for years on end and either not get the thing that they're literally asking for, or they'll be a grandma and a grandpa by the time they see it in the game. And by that time, it's too late. You're too old to even spend all this time on the Wizards card game, you know? So I really think the devs should be a little bit more lenient, a little bit more receptive to community feedback. I do agree it's good to ask, like, you know, why Leon might want Rasulka to do 10k and stuff like that. But I think it wouldn't hurt to listen to the community a bit more and not be so entitled about things. That's a very common criticism I hear from the player base, is how the devs are very like entitled, egotistical, and full of themselves. Again, they're good people, they're smart people, but this is something that the community does say, and I do agree with it to an extent. I just wish, you know, listening to the community was a little bit more of a thing that y'all did. And with that, that's going to wrap up the video, y'all. It's a long video, I know, but if you made it this far, feel free to leave a like. I put a lot of time into this video, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, y'all.